So yeah, I'm going to talk about some elections that we covered last year and just how to deal with uncertainty, which we dealt with in two different ways. We had a snap election in Turkey, which was called with 6 weeks' notice, and we had the Afghan election, which had been delayed at that point by 3 years. So really, we... And we also didn't know if it would happen when they said it was going to happen. So we kind of were basically planning for that over the course of last year. I am a software developer. We're a small team. We're basically one of the visual journalism world service visual journalism hubs. And that comprises of me, a developer, a designer, and a data journalist. But because we're a small team and we work quite closely together, we end up wearing different hats. So I did some data journalism, and we had a journalist doing some designing. And basically, yeah, we just all pitch in and make projects happen. We covered the Near East, which I admit when I joined the BBC, I didn't know what that was, so I had to learn. But it basically means Central Asia, Afghanistan, Iran, Turkey, and BBC Arabic. So yeah. The Turkish election. When we started with this, we identified, well, we brainstormed with the BBC Turkish team to find out what they needed to kind of augment and complement their journalism. And the things we identified was party manifesto, election results, and voting system. One of the problems we had with the election was we didn't really know where the data for the election results would come from, and as a result, we probably spent more time talking about that than we needed to. So I think, in retrospect, we probably should have just carried on and just built stuff, which we did do to an extent. So one thing that we built very quickly was the manifesto, and this component has been used inside World Service on multiple elections since then. And it's just a very mobile-friendly, bite-sized way of digesting the party manifestos and their different positions on policy. Another thing that we did at this time was also an election glossary, trying to explain the different terms, and again, just a mobile-friendly format. Once we had that done, we moved on to more novel products. So this explained how the proportional representation system worked in Turkey. It's complicated by the fact that they added alliances, which changed the threshold in which parties counted for seats. But basically, people could plug in their region and then make their own vote result and find out how the seats were allocated. And I just wanted to kind of create a worked example so that people could understand how the d'Hondt formula worked. Because I think, off the top of my head, I don't know how it works. And yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to make a game, basically. So that was what we did in Turkey. Moving on to Afghanistan, the problem we had was we didn't know whether it would happen or not. So we needed to justify the time investment on making an interactive project. So what we decided to do was use historical data and build a dashboard based off 2010 vote results. And we also added in some data from 2018 about voter registration and candidate registration. Another thing we did with this was we used one code base on 3 different products. So it was digital, it was on TV using a touchscreen, and it also exported to social media cards. This widens the reach of it internally and allowed us to distribute out to BBC Persian, BBC Pashto, and BBC Dari, whereas we wouldn't have been able to if we'd just built one product. So yeah, that's about it. That's just some stuff I did last year. Thank you.